Hello and welcome to Nicole Reacts, a show in which I, Nicole, react to online marketing gurus that I find on the internet. My qualifications for snark and commentary are that I've owned a legitimate marketing company for the last 15 years, in that time having worked with hundreds of clients on marketing strategy and implementation. So I know what I talk about when it comes to marketing, and if you're trying to figure out what this channel is about, think about content related to marketing that can help small businesses, commentary, anti-MLM. It's kind of a little bit of all those things. So if you like that, I hope you decide to stick around. And if you just want to see more of this type of video where I react to marketing gurus, there's a whole playlist on the YouTube channel, and also in the blog section of my website, there's a category called Nicole Reacts, and you can see all the episodes there as well. So today's person, he was my first reaction video, guys. So you never forget your first, they say. And my first was Grant Cardone. So this is the first ever video of this series that I didn't know was going to be a series. And I recorded it, as you see, a little over a year ago. YouTube doesn't track dates super well, but I know that it's over a year ago because I record these videos weekly and there's over 70 videos in the playlist. So clearly that's more than 52. So I was looking at my stats and I saw that the Grant Cardone video, despite the fact that my lighting was weird and I didn't know my microphone was picking up on the traffic noise outside, despite all that, this is one of my better performing videos. So I thought I would see if I could make magic happen again by revisiting Grant Cardone. So in case you don't watch the first video, basically he spent the first half talking about the importance of telling your story. And he had this big whiteboard and he was just writing examples of things that he could talk about on social media that were part of his story. Of course, they were all like humble brags, essentially, or not very humble brags in a lot of cases. I should have kept a tally, but again, it was my first video. And the second half of the video, the whiteboard changed into a giant sales funnel, which he was always partially obscuring with his body because he was in front of it. And he was trying to sell whoever was watching it into some kind of program. So Grant Cardone is known for his sales. There's lots of videos of him doing sales over the phone. And if you watch it, you're like, I really don't think I could get away with this unless I myself was also a multimillionaire. But anyway, Grant Cardone has shifted, not completely away from business, but more towards sort of real estate and investing. And I think that's because, of course, he is trying to get people's money so that he can invest it in real estate. And I think there's some sketchy stuff going on, but other creators have looked more deeply into it than that. I'm the marketing person, and so I like to stick in my lane because that's what I know. So let's see if we can make magic strike twice here and cover Grant Cardone yet again. Today's video is called Billionaire Hacks to 10x Business Marketing and Branding. It's almost 50 minutes long. If this feels long, I might just make it 2 parts, but let's just get started and see how it goes.
I am not interested in 2 things. One, I never go for a viral video, ever. I've never worked for a viral video. And I don't go for like. I'm not interested in whether people like me or not. I'm interested in whether people know me. Whether they like me or not doesn't matter to me. I can convert people that don't like me. I can convert people that like me. You can lose people. I
like how his face just isn't moving, like, at all. Like, he's delivering the delivery and his face is not moving at all. It's really interesting. He's just very, like, robotic.
Watch my material because I'm not dependent upon one drop. The frequency of social media is what's going to build the trust with your audience. The drama, the Instagram, the YouTube.
The drama, the Instagram, the YouTube.
Clickbait. Grant Cardone's going bankrupt. If I'm not in the interview, guys, like, it's clickbait.
There's some stuff about, like, basically Grant Cardone being a fraud, like the fact that he's not actually a billionaire and that he maybe has a lot less money than he says he does, or that maybe he's doing tricky things with his money. These are definitely discussions being had online about him. So this video came out 5 months ago, so maybe this is his response to that. Run GPG, hosted by David Morrill. Oh, Greater Property Group, GPG. Okay. Maybe.
What up, it's Mr. X to the Z Exhibit.
What's up, guys? It's Andy Priscilla.
This is Ryan Serhant.
This is Shingy.
Hi, it's Patrick Benjamin.
This is Sonia Sarbatani.
This is Director X.
Hey, everybody, I'm Forbes Riley.
Yo, this is Goldie.
This is Amberly Lago.
Who are all these people in the company? This is so confusing. I feel like this is a series of introductions, but I don't know why I'm being introduced to these people.
This is Chris Voss. Michael Trans.
Chris Voss. No, I like your book about never splitting the difference. Why are you aligning yourself with these people?
Yo, this is Charlie Tuna. Hey, what's up? It's Billy G.
And you're listening to The Run.
Podcast.
Ellen Cardone is his wife.
I'm going to go hang out and listen to David's next podcast. You might hear something you like. Peace.
Run GPG is a podcast. Wow. Okay. It's funny. So we had a client recently we redid a website for, and they didn't have a lot of branding. And we were really struggling because they are consultants who live on opposite ends of the country. So it's not like they can do like a photo shoot together or something. So we were trying to figure out what to use. And we ended up using these black and white sort of masculine stock photos. And that's what this background kind of looks like.
Grant is the CEO of Cardone Enterprises, Cardone Capital, an international speaker, entrepreneur, and author of the 10X Rule, as well as the creator of 21 best-selling business programs. Grant also owns and operates 7 privately held companies and a portfolio of $4 billion in multifamily properties. Check that out. That's with a B.
So he owns multifamily properties. He has a whole video on his YouTube channel that says why he thinks single family houses are a terrible investment. Gee, I wonder why he made that video. It looks like Grant Cardone is going to be a guest on this podcast. So I'm guessing the Run GPG is not his podcast, but he was a guest on it. And they must have given him the file because this is uploaded to Grant Cardone's YouTube channel right now. So
Named the #1 marketer by Forbes magazine.
when did they name him the #1 marketer?
Grant is
I'm going to see if I can find that out.
also the founder of the 10X Movement and the 10X Growth Conference, the world's largest business and entrepreneur conference. As time permits, we're looking forward to talking about sales, marketing, and of course, real estate and Cardone Capital with the one and only Grant Cardone. Good to see you again. Welcome to the GPG Mastermind this week.
Hey, thank you, man. Love all the work that you're doing, getting so many different people on your shows. And that's awesome. And I look forward to being.
Okay, so I'm on the Forbes website right now, and I'm just looking like, okay, a marketer to watch, right? And it says, this is the article, 25 marketing influencers to watch in 2017. So this article was written at the end of 2016, and it lists Grant Cardone as the #1 marketer to watch in 2017. So this wasn't recent. I'm not saying it was far in the past, but it isn't this recent thing like they're portraying here, in my opinion. I'm also not getting into Forbes' history of pay-to-play journalism here. We know that they are among the publications that people can pay to get into. I'll link to the Natasha Graziano video if you want to learn more about that. But definitely know that some publications are more trustworthy than others. And Forbes is not necessarily a highly thought of publication in the way that, I don't know, the New York Times or the BBC is.
Part of this, and hopefully I'll learn something today either way, but hopefully you're
know this. And I'll just jump right into it. Coming out of the pandemic and all the weirdness of the lockdowns and everything else, you've had an incredibly busy year. And I know you recorded a couple of TV shows this year. You got the 10X Growth Con coming up. And of course, all you're doing with Cardone Capital, which is super impressive. But looking back on the year, how are you finding time to do all you do, Grant? Like, what does a typical day look like for Grant Cardone? Like, how do you prioritize the big rocks daily?
Well, the #1 most important thing today was your interview.
Yes, let's ask a billionaire who has staff as well as a wife who I'm sure does a lot of sort of household management type stuff to free up his bandwidth. Let's ask him how he manages his day. I'm sure that there'll be something for all of us in here.
So I'm like, we got to do that right. And, what really happens for me in any given day, I don't think about having too much to do ever.
He doesn't think about having too much to do ever. Okay, is that because you have hundreds of employees who do the actual work and the place kind of runs without you and you just hang out? I'm trying to figure out a time where I would feel like that about my work, and it's really hard to imagine, but
I'd rather have too much to do, by the way, than too little to do. I do a lot better, and I'm a lot happier when I got a lot to do. So I would just suggest to everybody, don't complain about having too much to do, because if you keep complaining about it, you'll have nothing to do.
That's right, guys. The billionaire, he doesn't think too much about what he has to do, but he doesn't think you should complain if you're very busy and are not afforded that same luxury.
And I think everybody, has had the experience of like a day going by in a snap of a finger because you had so much to do as opposed to nothing to do and it feels like the day never ends.
There's something really weird about his delivery. It almost seems like he's a little bit sad or something. I don't know. Let's keep an eye on it, but maybe he just has a lot of, I mean, it seems like he's had some Botox or something. His forehead is very flat. And mine isn't. I mean, not to say that people don't have different genetics or whatever, but for a 58-year-old man, he does seem very smoothed out. So maybe his lack of facial expression is just Botox.
There's an old saying about, if you want something done, find the busiest person and give them the task, because the person that has nothing to do will not get it done. So
This has been the second seemingly abrupt cut. I'm really curious what they're
I
cutting.
don't really worry about too much I don't think about I got too much to do. I don't really think in terms of that, but I also don't do stuff I don't want to do. I was driving to the office today. I was late. I was doing this interview with O'Leary and I was a moment late. And then two grown-ups, adults, are driving through our private parking lot here at the office on bicycles, and I almost hit one of them. And of course, your response is when you hit somebody on a bike on your property, you want to get out and beat them up first.
That's not my first response if I would accidentally come close to hitting someone on a bike or not on a bike.
And so the point of that story is I made time.
The point of that story is what?
Time for this thing that just showed up on my radar out of nowhere.
Does he think that things don't just pop up for other people? Like your kid gets sick and you have to go pick them up at school, or like your appointment got moved around and now you have to move around your day. Does he think these things don't happen to other people? Also, this guy literally just asked him, like, what's a typical day? He just wants to think, like, what's your morning routine, Grant? Like, do you meditate? Do you take vitamin D? Do you go for a walk with your dog? Like, that's the kind of stuff he was looking for. But you're like harping on this, like, you should have a lot to do and
wasn't on
happens.
My schedule, and I made time to be an idiot for a moment and got emotional. So I don't think it's
so this guy who almost got hit on a bike had to like manage a grown man's feelings, who was maybe doing an interview on the phone while driving and therefore distracted. So like I almost die and then I have to comfort this middle-aged man who's like having some emotions about almost killing me. I don't know. I bet those guys with the bikes never go through that parking lot again.
Real that people don't have time. You guys make time for whatever happens, the drama, the Instagram, the YouTube clickbait. Grant Cardone's going bankrupt.
Yeah, we make time to watch all the Grant Cardone going bankrupt content that we can find. That's it.
Video that you guys find time to watch where somebody basically breaks down my company, but they don't have me in the interview. If I'm not in the interview, guys, like it's clickbait. So
it's a good breakdown. Yeah, it's a good breakdown. I mean,
so is he saying that the video about Grant Cardone's company not doing well was a good breakdown, or his general ideas about having a lot to do, not worrying about it, and not complaining about it? Is that what was a good breakdown?
They come for the tallest tree, right? The tallest nail. I want to ask you, before.
I want to ask you something else so that you don't spend a lot of time driving home this very odd point.
We get to real estate, Cardone Capital, branding and marketing. I want to ask you about branding and marketing, because it's hard to find someone who's more prolific on social media than you, right? Grant Cardone, the Cardone brand. I've said this many times. I call you Mr. Content, right? Forbes named you the #1 marketer, obviously.
In 2017.
Many agree with that. There might not be an
2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. Just saying.
Exact blueprint to what you've done and what you're doing. I think you have 15 million followers on social. And then I've heard you say this, that you have an additional 150 million that see your content regularly. So
is he just going off the metrics of how many impressions his content gets in a year? I don't know where that number's coming from, and I'm sure he won't be specific about it.
That's massive. So it'd be really good to get your perspective on branding and marketing, especially for those on the call today who are in a service industry like real estate. Is there a formula or recommendation that you see with personal branding?
Tell me about what I should do with personal branding. That's a giant topic. I'm really curious to see how he breaks this down. I don't think this is a great question. I'll be honest with you. I think asking a more specific question or asking about part of personal branding, like what were the first things you did to establish your personal brand when you were starting? That would be a good question for people on the call. Or I don't know, just something more specific to start off with, because that might give his rambling some direction.
Well, the first thing I would tell you guys to do is pretty much disregard everything that you're hearing about marketing.
Done.
It can't be true because it's outdated, because these platforms did not exist. Period. End of story. The measuring of metrics, ROI, these are mythologies.
You just bragged about getting 150 million whatever views. So if metrics aren't useful, why are you using them?
Are accounting people that wanted to somehow put some valuation on marketing. So they're like, okay, I spend $1, you get $2 back. He's a damn accountant.
There's nothing wrong with wanting to make more money than you spent doing something. Like, that's how I guess business works. I mean, if you also just want to break even, again, very valid. So my company name is Breaking Even, right? Every business's first goal is breaking even. So to me, it's like a common goal and starting point, and to sort of remember that whatever it is when it comes to your marketing, again, if you're going to hire us to do something for X dollars, we want to make sure that we make you more money than that, right? But the other reason I call it breaking even is that not everyone's objective in running a business is to make a gazillion dollars. And it's okay if you can just pay for your life. Like, that's a perfectly valid approach. Him like making fun of accountants, I bet having people looking at the numbers and pointing out things like this are the reason he's probably still in business. You do need to responsibly spend money. And if you look at what's making you money, you need to be able to justify that it's worth doing, that you can afford the staff, that you can afford the materials or whatever it is for you to be able to deliver that product or service. It's perfectly valid to care about the numbers.
Accountants are not creators. Accountants are not entrepreneurs. Accountants are dealing with past.
Some accountants are. Some accountants have their own accounting businesses, so they're entrepreneurs.
The past. I have an accounting degree. You do not create finances as an accountant. You account for finances that have already happened. You create budgets that are always that.
Budgets are arbitrary? Okay, I mean, that sounds more like a you thing. I think a lot of people who make budgets really try to stick with them and have reasons for the numbers that they've put for the different line items, whether it's a personal budget or a business one.
They're not real. They're speculations about the future.
Speculations on the future are called projections, okay? A budget is like a plan of spending.
Entrepreneur is the one that makes them happen, okay? Today, I know after being in business for 40 years, marketing is the single most important thing your company can do.
So I was reading in an article while preparing for this video that he started his first business at 27. And so I don't think he's been in business for 40 years. I think he's been in business. He's like 57 years old right now. I think wait, hold on. 20, 37, 47, 57. I think he's off by an order of magnitude. I think he's been in business for 30 years and not 40 years.
The second most important thing your company can do is more marketing. And the third most important thing your company can spend money on and spend energy and time and resources on is marketing. The cost of not marketing is infinite. Okay. No
cost of not doing marketing is infinite. I think it's that, like, if you don't market right and you lose out on money, it's really hard to tell how much money you would have made if you would have done something different. But I don't know about saying that it's infinite is quite accurate, but
a great company can be a gregreat company on word of mouth only. It's impossible. Quit bragging about your word of mouth. Oh, I built my company on word of mouth. I hear this when I was doing Undercover Billionaire, almost the TV show Undercover Billionaire, I'd run to these companies. We do word of mouth advertising. I'm like, you bragging or complaining? Oh, we're bragging. I said, well, that's nothing to brag about.
Okay, so he's pretty wrong about this, right? Like, if you live in a very small town, or you even just know someone who's like a good electrician or who can do really nice tile work, those people are busy. They're busy because they did a good job for a couple of years to everyone they worked for. And now they have waiting lists of people who want them to come in and, rewire their house or come and lay tile in their bathroom. Because these skill sets are rare, maybe you need a certification, or you need to do ongoing education, or you need special tools, or whatever, and these people happen to be good at it. So I would say that not every business needs to do a lot of marketing. But for example, my friend is an electrician here in the town that I live in, and I've done a little bit of work for him. And at first, he was saying that people were having a hard time finding him. So we optimized his Google business listing, and then he started getting calls. And he said, I like getting the calls, but they're not like the kind of calls that I want. And so I said, okay, what about them don't you like? He's like, I have a lot of work within this particular town. I want to stay here. I said, okay, great. Like, let's specify that your service area is this 3-town radius that's within a 10-minute drive basically of your house. And he's like, oh, that would be great. Okay. Oh, I don't really want to do commercial work. I want to stick to residential. Okay. So again, we optimize the content, and now he's getting more of the calls that he likes. So we're not really doing any strong marketing for him because he doesn't really need marketing, but we're helping him, I guess, filter people or have the right people find him through things like online listings or his website or whatever. So again, word of mouth can be a perfectly valid way to market yourself.
You're stupid, and that you haven't committed to scaling. I didn't
Not everyone needs to scale, dude.
start any social media. I didn't have one follower on social, David, until 2011. Is that right? 2000. Yeah, I've only been doing social media marketing for 11 years. I'm 64 years old.
Oh, he's 64. So if he said he's been in business 40 years and he's 64, that means he would have started his first business at 24. And he didn't start that early. He started in his 20s, but he didn't start at 24. He started closer to like 28 or 29, I think.
I got introduced to social media.
But I guess if you say 40 years, like you could round up a couple of years, and yeah, you're so close, I suppose.
When I was 53 years old. It's not native or easy or normal or natural for me.
You don't say.
What I saw, the beauty of social media was, number one, it was free.
Everyone thinks social media is free, and it's a free tool to use. But the most valuable thing about it is the content that you put out. And the time it takes to do content is not free. Because even if you're doing it, if you're spending your time making content, that is time you're not doing something else in your business. If you're a hairdresser and you specialize in coloring, like the kind of hair that someone would pay like $300, $400 for, right? That you would do over the course of a few hours. So let's say that instead of doing social media marketing, you were able to do one extra client a week in the three hours that you would spend on social media, and you could be making $400 plus tip. Wouldn't you gladly hand that off to someone who charged less than you could make? So people see this tool as being free, and it's free to use, but your time that you're investing in it is costing you something, even if it isn't a dollar amount.
Number two, I could bang it as much as I wanted.
Yeah.
Okay. Like as much as I wanted. They won't stop you no matter how much I drop on it. I can say anything I want, and it's not regulated, and it's free.
That's always what I look for, is I can say whatever I want and no one's going to call me out on my bullshit. I don't know how I feel about what he just said. I think you need to regulate things like hate speech or harassment and things like that. I do think I should be able to talk about what I think about Grant Cardone, which is why I appreciate freedom of speech and being able to make these videos. But I don't know if like these are the primary benefits I think of when I think of social media as a tool for my business.
This is perfect for me. Okay. You know, everybody told me to do, oh, there's a specific time. This is a myth. There's a specific time you should market, you know, the time of day.
Yeah, I agree with this, actually. I don't think there's one specific day or time that's perfect for everybody. There's all these studies out there. I'll link to the video I did about social media timing, where I pulled together a bunch of studies and basically showed that they all had like the findings were not consistent across the studies. So basically you need to just run your own experiments and see what your timing is like for business. Oh, do you get more interaction when you post in the morning? Okay, cool. Oh, like, well, let's just check that though. Let's post some stuff in the afternoon and see if you get some interaction.
Number two, don't market too much. Number three, don't monetize. Gary Vaynerchuk became famous for don't monetize. I'm like, I ain't got a daddy.
I ain't Gary V. I ain't got a daddy.
My daddy don't own a wine shop, bro. I gotta monetize.
So I agree with Grant Cardone here. I don't think that we should feel bad about monetizing our content at all, because content takes time to make. And I know that we're all supposed to just make a bunch of free content and just hope that we help people. And I get that. But the reason that I only make one video per week on this channel is that each of these videos, between filming and editing and all of that, takes me between 5 and 8 hours a week. And it's really hard for me to justify spending any more time than I already do on this channel without it being monetized. So I totally get that. But the thing is, if you are monetizing your content and you're putting ads on it, those ads have to be obvious that they are different from the content. And most ad platforms do that for you. Like if you see a video ad while you're watching this video, there'll be a clear interruption and you'll see it, right? But if I'm doing a read, and for example, okay, one of my clients has a CBD business. They grow their own CBD and they make this balm, and it's really awesome. And I use it when my arms start cramping up from all the typing. I just put it on and they feel better. It relaxes the muscles and all of that. And I think it's great. But I've disclosed to you that I have a business relationship with this company. And so you can take from that what you will, but you know that I like it, but you also know that there's a business relationship. And it's really important to disclose those, whether you're an affiliate, whether they're a client, or whether you're in any way financially or even relationally tied to them. Like if I was related to one of them, I'd be like, oh, my uncle owns this company, right? These are things that you need to disclose, because if someone is giving information, they affect the information being given. And it is very easy for me to disclose hashtag affiliate, hashtag sponsored post, or just me saying, hey, one of my clients makes this. It took me an extra 2 seconds to say that. And now you know where that information is coming from. So yeah, I agree with Grant Cardone here, but I do think that these gurus need to be really clear with the business relationships that they have when they talk about products as part of their social media content.
Okay, I need money. I got 2 kids. I have to monetize. So I
Even if you didn't, you'd still have to live your life. I get that.
broke all those rules. Number one, I market constantly. The best time for me is right now. I add links to almost every post that I do. I've raised $1 billion in cash for Cardone Capital doing this. And I've sold $1 billion worth of products over the internet. And nobody really even knows I exist.
I don't think that's true. I think a lot of people know the name Grant Cardone, like from him being all over social media, from his books, from his undercover billionaire stuff, for being a Scientologist. There's lots of reasons to know Grant Cardone. I also wonder where he's getting these numbers. What billions of dollars of products has he sold? Are those event tickets to his events? Are they digital online products? Are they physical products that he sold? Like, I don't know. I would like to know the context of these numbers a little bit.
Also, the 15 million people that follow me and follow whoever follows you is not as important as the warriors that won't follow you, that will not like you, will not comment. You don't even know. They're watching. Many of them are watching on burner phones.
Are they though?
The most qualified audience I have is not my followers. It is the warrior audience. See, once I'm in something, I'm in it. Like back to your.
Okay, that was quite the cut. And also that was kind of odd. Do you have a burner phone where you watch the content that you feel really guilty about watching? Come on.
The first question about time management.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I just take whatever's in my face. Okay. Then
This guy is like,
then I'm going to make room for whatever I'm doing in that moment. And if I have to push stuff back because of it, I push stuff back. But I don't want to skip. You know, you don't want to miss a moment. Some of you know.
What is he talking about? You don't want to skip. You don't want to miss a moment. So he's saying the best time to market is right now, but you don't want to miss a moment. So what's he saying? If you're sitting somewhere and your kids are playing at the playground, is it your job to say, okay, I could market right now, but the most important thing is that I should be with my kids at the park? Is that what he's saying?
Know me. Some of you never heard of me. Some of you that know me probably break into a couple categories. I don't like him. David, I can't even believe you're having him on. Then there's another category. I've heard something about him. I don't know. I'm not quite bought in. There's some of you that are fans. You like me.
Some of you like me. He seems very surprised about that.
Okay. So now I have an opportunity right now for those that don't like me or don't know me to actually change their mind about me and know me.
Can you really change someone's mind about anything? I mean, realistically, I'm saying you can present information and you can just be yourself and they'll decide to come around on their own. But I don't think I can actively change anyone's mind about me.
And this goes back to your question about the marketing piece. I am not interested in 2 things. One, I never go for a viral video. ever. I've never worked for a viral video.
Because we have no control over viral content.
I've never tried to get 15 million views. My daughter has more views on a TikTok that she did than I have on any video that I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't go for viral and I don't go for likes. Okay. I'm not interested in whether people like me or not.
I kind of admire that, honestly.
I'm interested in whether people know me. Whether they like me or not doesn't matter to me. I can convert people that don't like me. I can convert people that like me.
I agree with Grant Cardone here. I think you can just put things out there and it'll resonate with the right people.
If I can turn a fan into a non-fan, then I can turn a non-fan into a fan. But
that's not something you actively control, though.
The thing I'm most interested in for you guys that are taking notes and trying to figure this game out, particularly women, I think women suffer more from trying to get people to like them on social than men do.
Is it that women want to be liked, or is it that men / the patriarchy control the culture, and in particular the business culture that we're in, and so we have to be nice? I have worked with men who make absolutely no effort to be social whatsoever. Oh, that Mike, he's just antisocial or whatever. But if I behaved as a woman that exact same way, I would get hauled into a manager's office and told that I should smile more. We've all been there. We're supposed to behave. And so when we're younger, we understand because society has told us either indirectly or very directly that when we don't behave, there's going to be consequences. And then what happens is we reach middle age and we're like, fuck it, we can't make anyone happy, and we stop caring. So I would say this is something a lot of younger women do, but it's understandable why.
Might be a little sexist, by the way, me saying that. I'll hold myself accountable for that already as it came out of my mouth. I heard it, but
okay, what are you going to do about it? I'm going to hold myself accountable, and then what immediately comes out of his mouth next is, but.
I know you guys spend more time looking good, okay? I know women.
Because we have to perform femininity. So right before this video, by the way, I'm recording this a little later in the day than I normally do, is because I didn't feel like putting on makeup. So I made a deal with myself, and I put on half the amount of makeup I normally put on. Now, this is half the amount of makeup I normally put on. I'll put on the screenshot again. This is me with like a full face. I've got concealer on. I've got translucent powder on. I've got mascara on. I just told myself tinted moisturizer and lipstick, and you can do a recording. I had to have that conversation with myself. And then I had to think, okay, is me wearing less makeup, is that going to get me less views on this video? It's going to make people not want to click on the thumbnail. When I grew out my hair, I had to think about how I was perceived and whether I would lose business or not, because I wasn't spending 4 hours and a few $100s in a salon every 10 to 12 weeks, right? So don't act like we want to necessarily spend our time doing this, because a lot of us don't, but a lot of us understand that if we don't perform femininity, that costs us something. And so we have to constantly weigh what it costs us. Hell, there was a reporter who decided to grow her hair out gray and got fired. I'll see if I can find the link and I'll put it in the show notes if I do, but this is not an unheard of thing. So acting like we just want to sit around and do this stuff all day. I mean, some of us might be interested in it, but a lot of us are doing it because we feel like we have to. If you don't believe me, go visit any woman in her home on a day that she's not going anywhere, and don't tell her you're coming, and see what she's wearing, see what she looks like. That's what she feels like doing in her natural state. So stop acting like we aren't playing by different rules here, Grant Cardone, because we are.
That redo their posts. Oh, I didn't look good. The light. Look, the post is not for you. The post is for the audience. My wife, she'll redo a post.
She's an actress who makes her money in part off of what she looks like. Also, his wife is gorgeous. Like, in case, yeah. Like
3 and 4 times until it looks perfect. I'm like, baby, you're not, are you going to go back and watch this? She will. I never rewatch my material because
you don't have to think about what you look like in it. She has to rewatch it to say like, okay, oh, this one got 10,000 less likes and I made this much less money off of this Instagram post because it got less views. And she has to analyze what about her looks maybe contributed to that. You don't. People just take you seriously automatically. If you're not believing me, there's tons of accounts of trans men, people who were assigned female at birth and then transitioned to being men, talking about holy shit, I had no idea. People started listening to me. People started taking me seriously. People starting to act like I know what I was talking about. And until I experienced it, I had no idea that me changing the presentation of myself would change the way people perceive me. So, yeah, we rewatch our material. We pay attention to our looks. We analyze it because it costs us not to.
I'm not dependent upon one drop. The frequency of social media is what's going to build the trust with your audience. People are they're going to decide on you in the beginning based on your frequency. I can trust this person to deliver content to me.
Yeah, or if you're just delivering it at a set time. So my weekly video drops on Friday afternoons at noon Eastern Standard Time. And the people who watch my stuff can count on it. I've missed publication less than the number of times I can count on one hand. I'm just saying, if you're consistent, even if it's not constantly, even if it's just like every week at this time I do this, and your audience can count on it, they can trust you. Consistency does breed trust, but you do not have to be doing stuff multiple times a day, every day, to build that trust.
That's why, David, you call me Mr. Content. Nobody's ever called me that before, but bro, I have a lot of content.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's consistency is key. We all know that, especially on social media. I mean, it's, just as long as you're putting out content, good, bad, or indifferent. Interestingly, we had Ty Lopez on. He was talking, the Here in My Garage video, the amount of work that went into that video, like it was unreal. Like
the In My Garage video, I have a Ty Lopez video where we watch that video together as part of it. I'll link it in the show notes.
He had copywritten that over and over again, the hours and weeks and months
that video does, if you go watch that video, it does not look like it took hours, weeks, or months to produce that video. He's literally selfieing his garage and he's talking. Now, if you wanted to take time to script that, I totally get that. But the video taking months to do, go watch it and tell me if you think that it took more than maybe an afternoon to film that video.
Went into that video that people thought went viral on a whim. It wasn't. It was a lot of work went into that, but putting out the content is key.
Sure, I could see him keyword researching for phrases that people were looking for or whatever, and he does put some breadcrumbs in there. Like there's a Lambo in the background, and he uses the word Lambo and Hollywood Hills, and there's certain things that he says that could be sort of picked up on, but at the same time, if maybe that video, maybe he would put all that thought into the video and post it and it wouldn't have taken off and we wouldn't be talking about it, right? The reason we're talking about it is because it did. But there's an alternative universe where that video was posted and nobody cared, honestly. Again, go watch it and you'll see what I mean.
Right? Consistency. And, you touched on it. You talked about Undercover Billionaire. That was part of building the Cardone brand this year. That's the Discovery Channel series. I want to ask you, I'm curious about this, how you enjoyed that experience and what were the biggest lessons you learned personally from that show? Or I guess, what can entrepreneurs and business builders take from watching that series with you?
Well, let me back up a second and just tell you how it came about. Okay, it's kind of based on this 10X principle. We had done an event in Miami Marlins Stadium, 34,000 people. It's the biggest business conference ever held in the United States to date. There was a public ticket. I mean, Microsoft could hold the big event, right? But you're not selling tickets. This was a sold event. 34,000 people, everybody paid except 2,000 people. Those were first responders, policemen, firemen, nurses, etc. So 34,000 seats were sold or so. And when we got done with that, I'm like, guys, how do we 10X that? How do we go from 34,000 to 340,000 people in an event? It's an exercise. 10X is an exercise in big think, right?
Do you really want to go to an event that had 340,000 people at it? I don't know. I don't think you should 10X everything. I'm just going to say it.
To get yourself out of successful action so that you don't get rote and automatic and just kind of grooved into some success. And you're like, hey, what could I do? Well, my staff was like, well, there's no stadium that big. It's going to take hours and hours for people, even if we could find one, hours and hours for people.
Yeah, these are actual logistical concerns.
People to load in. I'm like, yeah, but what is big enough? You just keep asking, but how could we do it?
And the staff is like, I have a pile of stuff on my desk I have to do. And you want me to sit here with you and do a thought exercise about something we may or may not be doing? I get it. I get the reluctancy to do that.
Well, the only way to do it is a TV show. Okay. The 1.1 million people watched Undercover Billionaire the first night it dropped. So we actually achieved, we went from 34,000 people, that cost us 10 million, to I paid nothing except 90 days of my life, the most torturous, hellacious, worst 90 days of my entire 64 years on this planet were on this show.
So he did, at the beginning of this interview, he said that we should be doing something we loved. And he said now that this thing that was very successful was the most miserable 90 days of his life. Also, what's really funny is I forget what community on Reddit was talking about it, but someone posted a screenshot from Undercover Billionaire, and it said the guy was worth 500 million. And so someone wrote like, wouldn't it be Undercover Multi-Millionaire? That's the only thing, by the way, that I've seen or heard about this show. Again, I don't have cable or anything like that, and I haven't sought out this information. I'm just saying, in scrolling Reddit, I saw that screenshot go by, and that's the only thing I've heard about the show, except for him talking about it now.
I would not recommend it for anybody. I would never do it again. It was terrible. It was awful. Away from my wife and kids. The fact that you even bring it up, David, makes me want to
Well, why not? If there's things you don't want to talk about, why not tell the host of the podcast that ahead of recording?
Kill myself this morning. But, okay, it allowed me to expand my audience. Now, what's the other bad news about this is Discovery Channel. This is behind the scenes. Me and Discovery Channel still today hate each other. Okay. They hated me while I was doing the show.
I'm sure that you were not the easiest person to work with. Just based on watching some of your videos, Grant Cardone, I do not see you as necessarily the most easygoing guy on earth. I think in the first video I reacted to, one of the things he said was he was a friend to people. Like that was one of his roles that he was talking about, social media storytelling. He said, I'm a friend. I'm a hard friend, but I'm a friend. So he's saying like even in friendship, Grant Cardone is not easy to deal with. I cannot imagine how he treated, sort of people he considers staff, people he considers strangers, and people he does not even have a personal relationship with.
I hated them. We fought every day. They wanted to do the show a different way. They kept trying to get involved. But the deal was,
yeah, because they make TV for a living. They know what they know what's going to work for their audience. So like, why wouldn't you take their suggestions? Even if you didn't say yes to all of them, why wouldn't you at least hear them out?
They were going to follow me around in a city. I was going to lose my name, only had $100, an old truck, and there was going to be no interference from them for me to shoot this show. They were going to follow me around, and I was going to build $1 million business.
They got someone else to do that.
When we got there, they started interfering. They started setting up meetings, and I'm like, what are you doing, guys? There was 19 of them and one of me, and plus whatever their Discovery Channel is back at home. So I'm a free guy. I'm a guy that works for myself. I've been working for myself 35 years. I'm not used to people telling me what to do, and I'm authentic and transparent, and I'm honest. And I took that deal with them. I told them I was going to build a $10 million business, not $1 million business, and I was going to do it in under 90 days. And I told them I would never spend their $100. And they didn't like all that. They wanted to manage the process.
How would you have not spent any of the money though? Because you get to a city where you don't know people and you can't use your name, you can't use your previous connections. Like you're just gonna sleep on the ground at night, like outside, without you're not gonna eat any food. Like, I don't know, like I think you need to spend a little money.
And I'm like, no, you're not managing the process. I'm doing this deal by myself. They came to me one day and said, we got a meeting with you with this guy. And I'm like, I don't know that guy. And they're like, yeah, he'll be good TV. I'm like,
yeah, it's their job to go find interesting personalities or whatever for you to interact with. I mean, every reality show we've ever seen, right? There's a couple of characters and you're like, wow, they're really not good at modeling or singing or sharing a house with a bunch of 20-somethings. But the reason they're cast on the show is that they're interesting. They make interesting TV. So yeah, they're looking for characters that they can sort of put into this show.
like, hey, this is what I got for your TV show. Okay, follow me around. There's 19 of you guys. None of you have ever built a business, much less 1 in 90.
How do you know that? How do you know that none of those 19 people has ever built a businthis? Also, chances are if they're on location, some of those people have been hired as freelancers. So some of them might actually be self-employed, even if the Discovery Channel is one of their clients.
Days, leave me alone, turn your cameras on and follow me. I built a $5.5 million business in 90 days during COVID in Pueblo, Colorado. If you guys have
What business did you build in 90 days?
ever been to Pueblo, Colorado, I got the entire $5.1 million out of the city. Like there was nothing left when I finished.
What does that mean? You like bankrupted a city? What are you talking about?
So anyway, it was a terrible experience, but I did it because I knew I could build a bigger audience. What's crazy is they delayed the drop of the show because of COVID. COVID pushed it back and it was going to get dropped in November. This is 2020, November 2020. 40 million people were out of work. And I told Discovery, drop the show. People need it. And they're like, no, Grant, TV dies during Thanksgiving. I said, not this Thanksgiving. Everyone is home. No one's traveling. People need this show. They need to see a guy actually making it during COVID.
We all needed to watch Grant Cardone in a completely theoretical situation build a business. That was our hope during COVID when we couldn't see our families, when, money was really tight. We needed to watch a billionaire be successful. Okay.
Building a business out of nothing. And they said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to not release the show until the first of the year. I begged them. I pleaded with them. I even offered to pay them to drop the show.
It's their network. It sounds like it didn't cost you anything to get on this very national platform, except your time in filming, right? So it's kind of their call.
Because I thought America needed it so bad. What did they do? They waited until January. January 6th, Discovery Channel dropped Undercover Billionaire. Okay. Who remembers what was happening on January 6th?
It wasn't their fault that there was an insurrection. Okay. I don't think anyone knew that was coming. I don't think anyone predicted that. How is Discovery Channel supposed to know there was going to be an insurrection when pretty much almost no one knew there was going to be an insurrection?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was an ominous date, Grant.
Dude, it was crazy. It was like the lowest ratings on cable TV history.
You don't think they were lower like during, I don't know, September 11? You don't think it was lower then when everyone was watching that? I don't know. I think the lowest in history might be a bit of an exaggeration, but I could understand them being low.
Was January 6th, 2021. What's the point of that story? Never push back a start.
I don't know if that's the point of the story, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah. What
The interviewer's like, yeah. How am I going to edit this?
interesting case study, Grant. I'm sorry I asked about it, but I had to.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm so sorry I asked about it.
I had to. But,
Oh, they got their own little commercial in here. So see how they visually interrupted what we were watching and auditorially interrupted what we were watching to show us this commercial. Ask us about the best of everything plan for realtors. I don't know what this is. It looks scammy though.
but you also mentioned it, and I'm fascinated by this. Is disproving the myth that you need money to make money.
It sure helps though.
Right? Like they gave you $100 to start, correct? And you said, I don't want it.
Yeah.
I don't want it. So what's more important than money to make money, or what do you need to make money?
Connections, opportunities, the flexibility in your life to take chances.
Well, you need a strategy, right? You need a strategy. And my strategy was I didn't need any money. I needed people.
Yeah. Because you know who has money? People.
So for instance, the first 5 days, all I wanted to do was meet the right people in town. And the way to do that is to go to business owners. So I'm flying into Pueblo. They told me 30 minutes out from Pueblo, you're going to be going to Pueblo, Colorado. Because I didn't know until then, so I couldn't do any research. Mm-hmm. So I opened my phone up, put in Pueblo, and I searched businesses for sale in Pueblo. The reason I did that was because I wanted to see who was selling a business. Now, Discovery's like, bro, you don't have any money. I said, I don't need money to buy.
It's true. There's a lot more flexible ways to have a business now. You can earn your way into business ownership, so to speak. There's employee-owned cooperatives. There's different models besides, here's a hunk of cash, let me buy your business. Those people who want to sell their business, they might be the most game to let someone come on and help them or whatever, because they want to get out of it. You don't wake up and decide to sell your business because you love doing it so much and you want to quit while you're ahead. It's like, okay, I'm getting ready to retire, or maybe I want to move somewhere else, or, there's usually a reason. And you decide, okay, let's start thinking about selling my business. So by the time you've listed it, you're probably relatively serious about it.
Business. There's 32 million small businesses in America. 60% of them, 18 million of them break even or lose money. Half of them are for sale on any given day.
I think pretty much any business is for sale if you pay the right price for it. If anyone's watching this and wants to pay a lot of money for my marketing company, please reach out. If it's enough money and I don't think you're a douchebag, like let's talk.
That I could literally walk in. Like today, if I was going to go start a new business today, I wouldn't start a new business. I'd go buy one that's existing. Going into 2021 or 20.
There's different problems with a pre-existing business than there is with a new business. With a pre-existing business, you've got the capital, you've got the customer base and all of that, but you're also inheriting any problems that exist, any systems that are bad that have to be changed. So I don't think just buying a business means you have less problems. I think you just have different problems, and cash flow, though, is less likely to be one of them.
2023, I would tell you guys, it's going to be easier for you to buy 10 businesses next year than to raise your revenue 10% next year. And you can literally buy 10 businesses like yours with no money. Literally take it over and pay the owner for that business out of future revenue. They're tired. They've been through COVID. Now they're going to go through a
Yeah, I agree with this.
recession. This is going to be a nasty, nasty recession. It's going to hurt a lot of businesses. And so you could go buy those businesses. So I looked up a bunch of businesses, and one was an RV, okay, an RV park. So first thing I did, I said, I'm going to an RV park when I get to town. Went to an RV park. Guess what? The guy was trying to sell 6 months ago, ended up selling it to his son. His son took over. They have 60 RVs that are empty, one of which I ended up sleeping in rather than my truck. We tried to buy the show from Discovery. They've done nothing with it, by the way. They bombed it. They've ruined a $1 billion enterprise. They had a hit show the first year, and they destroyed it.
How did they destroy it? By pausing the release day? So a show is good if it comes out on time, and it is complete garbage if it comes out 6 months later? I don't know.
Just goes to show you, man, when you start changing stuff that's working, don't do that. You got something working, lean into it.
Isn't this the first time they've done that show? So if so, how do they know that they had something that was going to work and changed it if it's never been done before?
And they messed the show up. So we tried to buy it from them. We're still trying to buy it again. But until I can buy it, I basically took the show, ripped the show off of Discovery. I'm going to add behind the scenes to it. I hope they sue me. You can tell them I said this because it'll bring the show more attention. And you'll be able to see it at gctv.com. And we're going to show behind the scenes what they didn't show you, wouldn't show you, couldn't show you. So you don't need to go to Discovery Plus and buy it. You can if you want to, but go to gctv.com and you're going to see what they didn't show you. Now, we're going to produce 8 TV shows this year because when I get upset with people, what I do is I say, okay, if I think I can do it better than them, then go do it better than them. So we're producing 8 television shows this year, all entrepreneurial shows. The Real Estate King is one of them. We've shot 6 episodes already where I get dropped off in cities and go help people buy real estate. Big commercial apartment deals. We done.
Because he thinks single family homes are a waste of money. All right, I accidentally clicked on the screenshot of my previous broadcast while I was taking a screenshot of gctv.com. I'm just going to show it to you in case we don't have time to look at it, okay? This is what the website looks like. That is his television network. And I think the woman where it says, should you change yourself? I think that is his wife, I think. Anyway, so they're going to do their own TV thing. And as you see, it just looks like a random blog website with some thumbnails on it. But there's supposedly 8 TV shows on here.
We've done 6 cities. I got 4 more to do: Nashville, Atlanta, Tampa, and Miami. I'll do those in January. We have a show called Mini Moguls where we're out discovering the most successful kid entrepreneurs in the world. I'm doing another show with a guy that does marketing. He does entrepreneurial kind of takeover shows. Me and Rick Ross are doing a TV show called Hustler House where 15 supposed hustlers go live at Rick Ross's house. And
oh my God, they're doing a content house. Oh my God. Of course they are.
me and Rick torture them for 30 days to find out who is the ultimate hustler. We're doing another show called Inside the Mind of an Entrepreneur to figure out how you guys think, because you're definitely wackos. And
Are you not an entrepreneur? You're saying you like your exterior to it?
I'm missing, I don't know, a handful of shows.
It was, did you mention, I was talking to Jared about Unbreakable?
Oh yeah, we're going to do it. Well, we're doing a release in January with 1 million people. We think there'll be 1 million viewers online. It's
How do you control that there's a set million people that are going to see something?
it's a free event in January.
Okay, you're going to make people register for the event. Got it.
To show people how to build an unbreakable business over 5 days. That's not a TV show, but it'll be like what you guys are doing right here. Just be 1 million people rather than 6.
Very cool, man.
Rather than six. What? Okay, so they're streaming the recording of the podcast, and some people are watching it live. And I love how he like cut rather than 6, and then he just cut. So I don't know if it's 6 or 600 or 6,000. I don't know what was going to come after 6, but
again, right? It's hard to find somebody more prolific with content online than Mr. Content himself, Grant Cardone. You know, speaking of, content and disruption, how much have you enjoyed watching what Elon's doing at Twitter over the past 6 weeks?
It's so excited. I was on the call the other night. I'm glad you brought that up. I was on the call. I don't know, it was 2.5 hours.
Like a shareholders call with Twitter shareholders? Like what call? Sometimes these people talk and they like give no context, and you're just like, I don't know what you're talking about.
At 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night, he was flying in his 650.
Yeah, I was on that too. I was on that
call too. I was important.
I'm gonna tell you, my life was changed that night, David, listening to him.
Oh God.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, here's a guy, one of the wealthiest, smartest people.
He's not one of the smartest people on the planet. He buys other people's ideas. He bought into these ideas. He didn't create them. He's not Tesla. He's Thomas Edison.
People on the planet in his plane talking to a bunch of people he don't know and who probably can't really help him. And I was just like transparent, authentic, taking time to share with people. And it inspired me to keep being me, to do that. I get a lot of flack because people don't like whatever my delivery or my confidence or my belief in what I'm saying.
I don't think it's that we dislike your confidence or your delivery. It's that you say wrong information very confidently, or stuff that only applies to you or can't be replicated. That's the thing. Like when you hold a 35,000 person event and you say, well, how can we 10x this? Most people cannot imagine, afford, or otherwise host an event with 350,000 people. It's just not very possible. And I understand being expansive and I understand being open and all that, but we also have to be a bit realistic. And it's easier to be unrealistic if you've got billionaire money.
Get excited about it. And they take that as like, whatever, right? I don't like it. But, I listened to him, man, and he just gave me permission to keep doing that.
You needed Elon Musk to give you permission to keep doing you. Okay.
And not to be, not when you become successful, a lot of people just go into hiding. Mm-hmm. And he hasn't done that.
I mean, is that a flex though? He owns a social media marketing company, so he has to post to that platform. I get that. When you start having kids or start living with other people or whatever, at a certain point, you have to kind of protect your privacy a little bit. So him being able to go around not protecting his own privacy just tells me that he's probably a cis-het white man. Because if he was outside of those margins and living his life very publicly, he would be getting a lot more backlash for it.
And so it really inspired me to do more stuff on Twitter. I've added a lot of followers since he came on. So I don't know if they've lifted shadow bans on.
These people who think they're shadow banned, it's like, oh, I'm being shadow banned on this platform. Okay, is your content just getting less views because people just aren't interested in it? Do you really think the platform shadow banned you? Or is it just that people don't like your content as much anymore, Or is it that Twitter is becoming more radicalized? So people like Elon Musk and Grant Cardone and people who have these very extreme ways of expressing themselves are gaining popularity because that's what the platform is rewarding, right?
On me, or because I'm I've been very outspoken about the vaccine and different things.
Of course, he's been outspoken about the vaccine because, he's a doctor. He's an immunologist. he has a degree in science or interest in science concepts. Okay, he has none of those things. Just
Things like that.
Speaking in sarcasm font there.
That are, I think people should be able to have free speech. So I'm very.
Free speech, yes. Free of consequences speech, no. If you say something that causes people to get sick, that causes people to get hurt, that causes, I don't know, the downfall of a government where, say, police officers are killed, these are all things that you're responsible for. You can have free speech all you want, but you are not free from the consequences of what you say.
Inspired by that, we're going to do this weekend, we're going to take our real estate conference that we're doing, there's 2,000 people coming to Miami to go to live. I'm going to stream that on Twitter Spaces for free.
That would piss me off if I paid to go to a conference and then I found out it was being streamed on Twitter for free.
Despite the fact that we sell online video of it and we sell seats to it, we're going to do it on Twitter Spaces free. And to be completely frank and transparent with everybody, I'm doing that to get Elon's attention.
Okay.
Because he needs content providers on Twitter. He needs advertisers.
There's content on Twitter, but advertisers just don't want to be associated with the content that's there.
Very cool.
And I'm very curious what advertisers would want to work with someone like Grant Cardone, who is publicly anti-vax, who has gone through a lot of controversy related to his businesses, who, in terms of companies, wants to be associated with that. I'm very curious.
I guess we're learning lessons watching.
I love this guy, like, he keeps like shifting, like, I don't know if he's uncomfortable with Grant Cardone. I don't know if he just doesn't know what to say after Grant Cardone finishes a tirade, but he always seems like uncomfortable once Grant Cardone is done talking and trying to tie his point up and then bring on the next question at the same time.
You know, what he's doing with Twitter, you know, especially entrepreneurial lessons for sure. It's been fascinating to watch. And of course, being fully transparent, you know, he's dropping the Twitter files, which is, I mean, you know, was very interesting.
I love how non-committal. He's not like, oh, it's inspiring and great, or, oh, I don't think it's a great idea. He's like, it's interesting.
And looking back, I think it'll be, you know, it's history making.
It's history making. It's interesting. We're saying things that feel like they mean something, but are completely neutral.
In a way, I think we're watching a piece of history unfold before us. I don't know if we're appreciating that, but, you know, I'm paying close attention.
I'm paying attention. Again, completely neutral.
That being said, and I know one of the questions in the chat, if I can reference it, somebody's asked what the biggest mistake you've made in life. Another way I might ask it is, what's the biggest mistake you see maybe entrepreneurs making, entrepreneurs and sales professionals making?
Okay. I like how you phrased it from being about Grant to being, let's let Grant people advice so that he doesn't have to get personal here.
Well, let me handle the first, you know, the first question, which is the biggest mistake I've made.
Okay. First marriage, not knowing God sooner, not getting a mentor right away, or starting his business sooner. Those are my 4 guesses. And I should only get 1 guess, but I'm just getting 4 because let's face it, it's Grant Cardone. He could say anything. In the last video, he gave a dog an enema, for goodness sake. So he could say anything right now.
The single biggest mistake I ever made in my life was thinking small. I continue to make that mistake today, even today, right now.
I could be on a much bigger podcast right now, but here I am.
I still think too small. I want to pull away from problems that I have rather than multiplying them. The solution to problems is to multiply them, make them.
Okay. I'll be curious at how he finishes this thought.
Make 10 times bigger problem as a way to solve the one problem you have. You're not going to get away.
Can you give an example?
From problems. It's impossible. And that's
more money, more problems. We all know this.
what causes people to shrink. They're trying to pull away from problems. Elon's leaning into them.
Is he leaning into them, or is he creating them?
Right. So
a lot of these problems are problems he has entirely created. Him tweeting at the employee accusing him of not working when he actually was, and that whole thing, I can't remember exactly, but him firing a bunch of people, like, for example, people like in the security part of Twitter, without having an understanding of how that was being secured, and then having a breach. I'll link to a couple of articles of problems that Elon has created. He's not leaning into them. He has made decisions, and they have created other problems.
So the second biggest mistake I made, and I interviewed Kevin O'Leary on this, was not doing due diligence on people. And what I mean is asking people hard questions.
Like what?
Tell me you did something, show me. You tell me you invested 500 grand in a project, or you're great at money, or you're hiring an accountant and you're great at money and you're going to manage my money and good. Show me your money.
Show me the 150 million views you've gotten on your social media content and how you've gotten that number. Show me how you sold $1 billion worth of products on the internet. I just want to see a breakdown by product type. This many digital books, this many courses, this many live events. I just want to see a breakdown of how the $1 billion breaks down. Even percentages would be great. So it's so funny that he wants other people to show their work and he doesn't show any of his work that I've seen.
Most people do not ask those questions. And I did this back in 2007. Trusted this guy. This guy does. I mean, this guy was smooth, man. He started going to my church. You know, he takes us to dinner, brings me in, shows me all his projects, but he never showed me his money. And he ended up ripping me off. And it cost more than the money that it cost me. It's embarrassing. I knew there was something wrong. By the way, if you guys go back and ever look at when you've been ripped off or betrayed or tricked, hoodwinked, there was probably something you saw that you didn't pay attention to and didn't ask deeper questions. So,
yeah, I mean, they say hindsight is 20/20, and it's because when you have some distance from something that happened, you do have some clarity about it. And your brain is not this like, your brain isn't a computer. It doesn't remember everything. Your memories are clouded by what happened after, how you feel about it, and all of that. So, you feeling bad about something and looking back on it, your brain is looking for things you might have missed. And so you're going to see them. It happens. It's perfectly normal. But I don't know if you would have noticed them in the moment, even if you wanted to.
those are the two big mistakes that I've made.
Interesting.
All right, now's a good point to stop. I've been filming for almost 2 hours and I've got to go to another meeting online here. I will finish part 2 of this next week. So stay tuned for that. A lot of feelings come up as I record about Grant Cardone. But if you want me to react to a marketing guru, a specific video, or whatever, you can leave it as a comment on this or any other video that I have. You can also, if you want more privacy, email it to me via the contact form of our website, breakingeveninc.com/contact. That goes right to me. And if you want to stay in touch, you can subscribe to this channel, or you can also subscribe to our email newsletter. It's a monthly newsletter, breakingeveninc.com/newsletter, and you can see examples of past newsletters on that page in addition to subscribing to see if it's something that you want. So thanks so much for watching, because these marketing gurus just keep on coming. But the good news is you've got a friend, that's me, in the marketing business that's not afraid to call them on their bullshit. Have a great day and see you next time. Take care.